kick things off with the Irish Times here. As you can see, a photograph of the Irish front rows going at it in training yesterday. Schmidt looking at the positives of a much changed Ireland team, writes Jerry Thornley here. The Ireland scrum failed to push when it came time to shove, writes a critical Liam Toland in his column there. And Jack Conan saying, I feel like I'm at the peak of my powers. We heard from Quinny earlier saying that his opportunity has come, and we'll see if he can take that. That's Jack Conan in the Irish Times. In the Irish Independent, meanwhile, Schmidt stands by Class, Murray and Sexton. This is the Class's permanent line from the press conference during the week, which, I mean, it's a go-to for most coaches when your star quarterback is showing a bit of a dip in form. You know, I'm all about the American football analogies these days, comparisons. And, you know, Class is permanent. Bit of a blip.
I wonder, in a way, should we be encouraged by their performance last week?
No.
It was as bad a performance from the Murray and Sexton partnership as we've seen, that surely it just can't be as bad as that again. And also, it would be way worse if we were sitting there and it's like, oh God, we're after getting hockeyed by England and everyone played really well. We are therefore an inferior team to this England team.
Yeah.
Whereas the underperformance by our two of our best players is a real kind of ray of hope in a fairly dark week. I think the fact of the matter is Sexton hasn't really played much top level rugby in this calendar year up until last weekend, and Conor Murray's coming off the back of a prolonged injury.
Yeah, the calendar year is very young, I would point out, but the other thing is that
it's been big European games.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I go fully along with that. If all of our players, the thing about this current Irish team is that if, the point that you made about if our players do play up to a certain standard, there isn't anybody who'll hockey us. That's the mark of this current team. So I'm not sure I go with that, but I mean, it's interesting logic. Would you be saying that about a Kerry team who sort of didn't show up and got beaten, and the midfielders were...
Well, absolutely I would.
You'd be saying...
Absolutely, I would 100% be saying
this is the best thing that could have happened to us.
There is a lot of comfort in the underachievement. Or in the underperformance, sorry, not in the underachievement, in the underperformance. There is a comfort in that, knowing that there has to be better days ahead if your team gets the best out of itself.
Just assuming that, look, I don't know, here's the thing. Whatever about the hysteria and all that stuff, Ireland are going to get better before the World Cup. There's no way they continue flatlining in the lead into the World Cup. That just won't happen, primarily because a lot of the opposition will be playing and be shite, and you can get your confidence up that way. Nobody expects that. It's just whether, in an overall sense, we've already peaked. That's the concern, really, when you boil it down. 2018 was our year. If the World Cup had happened then, we would have a right shot at it, but that was the peak. So we're back to where we were overachieving, an unbelievable group of players, extremely well coached, overachieving, and now we've come back to normal level of achievement, which on an off day last weekend can happen, and on most days you're sort of there or thereabouts, but not where we were in 2018. And I think that's people's concern, and I think that's real and fair.
Can it be possible that we have peaked last year and also go on to do something special enough in the World Cup?
Not if we peaked last year, I don't believe, no. Because if that was our peak and it was good enough to be...
Do you think we need to be at that level to get to a World Cup final?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%.
I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you.
We also have to count for most other teams peaking for the World Cup.
Yeah.
So, like, you have to assume that South Africa and Australia and France and England are going to be playing at a level above themselves. So that's where us being ourselves ain't going to get it done in my book.
No, I don't think... I think we can be a little bit below our peak from 2018 to get to a World Cup semi-final. And I think the same goes for winning that semi-final. Like, obviously, if we played last Saturday's level, then, you know, we're getting knocked out. We're getting knocked out in the quarter-final.
What I'm saying is I don't think we will. I think we'll play...
Yeah, but I think that the All Blacks will beat us if we're any way off last year's level. I believe that. Any other team in the world, we can drop down a little bit from last year's level and still give any other team in the world a match.
I mean, yeah, I think we're talking about percentages now, but...
Yeah, no, we are.
A couple of steps off, fair enough. Where we were last weekend, the All Blacks tear us a new one.
Oh, without question. But we won't get to the All Blacks if we play like that last weekend. We won't get past the quarter, unless we come second in our pool, of course, and they destroy us in the quarter-final.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Right, the show goes on is the other story here in the Irish Independent. This is about the British runners barred from Ireland. Racing goes on here. Michael Verney had some interesting things to say about it on the hurling show yesterday, that he's not sure it's the wisest thing to do, but I ain't no expert when it comes to that, that's for sure, and you just assume that the HRI and everybody that's involved is making the best decisions for everybody. But the show goes on here. it says in the Irish Independent, and GPA to receive an extra 339 grand under deal with the GEA. So this was an offshoot of the financial report that came out from the GEA during the week, and they made loads of money, and as a consequence of that, the GPA have landed themselves a little bit of a windfall. The Times Ireland edition here is Tadhg Furlong, and defeat meant a lack of sleep for Schmidt. Coach questioned himself after the loss to England. Writes Gary Doyle here. Boost for bid to host the 2030 World Cup. This was a story that's appeared in a few of the newspapers today, that the FAI, along with the English FA, the Welsh FA, Scottish FA and Northern Irish, the FA of Northern Ireland met in Rome yesterday to discuss the possibility of bidding for the World Cup in 2030. And it seems like FIFA would be keen to send it back to Europe. And interestingly enough, I don't know, have you read the story?
I've been following it, yeah. Like Theresa May's given her sort of backing a little bit. So you would think England could go on their own, right? Would be your sort of perception that they've got enough outside of the voting rigmarole. Bigger World Cup though.
But from a grounds point of view, they still probably cope with it. Anfield and Old Trafford currently would not be able to host World Cup games.
Why so?
Why do you think?
Too old?
No, they don't have enough runoff area for photographers.
That's mad, isn't it?
I mean, they'll fix it, but I'm just saying, as things stand. Also, Belfast has no ground that's capable of hosting a game at the minute, so I don't know how all that would work out.
Yeah, we've heard that before, that it would be an Ireland and the UK bid, except Northern Ireland wouldn't be included whatsoever because, as you said, they don't have the grounds to do it. But we would only have two, right? We'd only have the Aviva and we'd have Croke Park.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Brexit something. I'd
like to, what is it, 11 years away? Will a very old Neymar on that Parky Queeve surface could be quite a hilarious sight.
If he gets a new metatarsal for Christmas,
well, I mean, the Parky Queeve will put pay to that metatarsal.
And yeah, the other thing obviously is about with Five Nations hosting, who out of those five is going to be the teams that get to automatically qualify?
Well, that's the question that the current Euros situation has had to deal with as well.
So anyway, that's that. The Irish Examiner then, meanwhile, bouncing back is the story here. That's Chris Farrell in as Schmidt insists New Look Ireland ready to get up off the canvas. A
quick run through the rest of the newspapers. The back page of the Mirror has the story of the morning. Out and in. Jason Sherlock is out of the Dublin backroom team, and it looks like Dermot Connolly is on his way back. He's training with St Vincent's and he's doing one-on-one sessions with Brian Cullen. It's Pat Nolan's exclusive on the back of the Irish Daily Mirror. The back of the Herald is We've Got the Bottle. Alison says Liverpool wants to prove a point, and you've got Irish racing all clear as Britain in lockdown. And the rest of the newspapers basically this morning leading with that story. The Irish Daily Star goes with Deja Flu. British racing in €170 million shutdown. Business as usual for the sport in Ireland. The back page of the Irish Daily Mail then goes with lockdown. Racing in Britain cancelled for 6 days after horse flu outbreak. Probably tab of the morning to you this morning is on the back of the Sun. Apocalypse Nay. Racing set to lose millions, says the story on the back of the Sun. And the front page of the Racing Post naturally going with this as well. Lockdown is their headline as well, much like the Irish Daily Mail. British racing forced into shutdown, but the show goes on in Ireland. And then finally, a couple of the UK back pages. The Guardian goes with equine flu crisis widens. Biggest closure since foot and mouth ravages racing. And the front page of the Daily Telegraph sports section is racing in crisis. No meetings until Wednesday after equine flu outbreak. 100 stables in lockdown as the 5-day shutdown begins. A lot of support for your Kieran versus Kieran. Thank you.
Carry on.
Thank you.
It's
just correct. You know, it really annoys me, and I'm not going to name names here.
Well, there are people in this parish.
There are people in this parish, and I just almost punch the radio or whatever I'm watching. I don't want to say what medium they're on and off the ball. Whenever
I fear you've just outed yourself.
Out of myself, or the person I'm talking about. Yeah. When I hear them refer to a Kieran as a Kieran, it really it pisses me off so much.
I mean, I think you might have issues if it pisses you off a lot, but there we go. Odrin Gallagher says, "Brilliant, Owen. I remember the New Zealand game in November and the RTE commentator calling him Kieran Reid."
Well, I thought he was going to go another way there. People say Kieran Marmion. What the hell are you playing at? It's Kieran Marmion.
Yeah.
Like, look at the name of his look at how it's spelt. How is that Kieran? It's Kieran. I'm sorry, I thought he was going to go a different way there because I have heard Marmion. Kieran Reid is hilarious, obviously.
I'm willing to stay silent and let you go because this is...
Well, that's all I have to really say. It's a very simple thing.
It's good.
One is called Kieran, one is called Kieran. One is spelt in English, Kieran. One is spelt in Irish, Kieran. It's very simple.